Hi and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. My name is Haley and today I want to talk to you about some of the cool pollinators that you will be seeing out this summer. So the first one I'll talk about is the honeybee, a classic. Now there actually aren't any native honeybees to the United States, so they've all come from Europe. The most common one you will see around here is the European honeybee. Something cool about honey is that it can change pretty dramatically in its color, its flavor, and its viscosity. And this really depends on what plant the bee has visited. So you'll see a lot of times on labels, they'll tell you what plants they've been to. And if you go to local farms, I highly recommend trying their honey because of these regional differences. They will taste differently as well. The next bee I want to talk to you about is the common eastern bumblebee. There are many species of bumblebee around here, but this is the one that you will see the most often. You'll see these guys in honeybees on pretty much any plant. And you'll be able to tell these apart from honeybees because honeybees will have a longer and slimmer abdomen, while the common bumblebee will have a yellow thorax with a black dot on the middle. And the first stripe right after the thorax will also be yellow. Something that you should know if you do get stung by a bumblebee is that they can sting multiple times, and this is true of most bees and wasps. It's kind of a myth that bees only sting once then die. This is really only true of honeybees. Honeybee stingers are also different. They're like arrows because they have little barbs. So it's easier for them to go into the skin, but it's harder for them to come out. So if you do get stung by a honeybee, locate where the stinger is, and then you can take your fingernail and you can just slide it and scrape it along where it is to get the stinger out with the poison sac intact, and this will just make it hurt less. If you do have a bee or wasp allergy, always have an EpiPen on hand and go to the emergency room immediately. The next bee that we're going to talk about is the eastern carpenter bee. Carpenter bees are so much bigger than other bees. You'll notice them, they're big chunky guys. They also have these big black shiny abdomens that are really diagnostic. Something that's really cool about male carpenter bees is that they have a yellow mark on their head and the females don't. So male carpenter bees, and this is true for male bees and wasps, they can't sting, but females do. So if you see a male carpenter bee, you can just kind of catch it. So now that we've talked about a couple of bees, let's talk about a couple of wasps. So here we have the European paper wasp. This guy is invasive to the United States. It comes from Europe. So what it'll do is it'll just wait on milkweed. And this is the plant that monarch butterflies need to reproduce, and they eat it as well. So it'll stalk there and it'll wait for monarch caterpillars to come and they'll eat them. This is because the caterpillars have not had enough time to eat a lot of the milkweed, which is what makes them poisonous. So these guys are pretty crafty. The other type of paper wasp that we have here is the northern paper wasp, also known as the dark paper wasp. This guy is native to the United States, and thankfully it does not eat our monarch caterpillars like that. It's also this really cool like burgundy maroon color, something that you don't normally associate with wasps and bees. We usually think black and yellow. So it's really cool to see something that's more of a maroon color. So now that we've gone over a couple of the most common things you'll see this summer, I encourage you guys to go out and look at bees and wasps on your own and really make note of things like color, the shape of the head, plants that they're on, and pay attention to, are there different bees on this plant, or is it the same, kind of species that I normally see? Paying attention to these things will really highlight the diversity that we have in our bees and wasps. So, like I said, go out there, have fun, and happy hunting.